Good morning and welcome to Peace Out, where we are all learning together to peace out. We are all learning. I think the first thing we learned was that it was a process, not a button, right? And that's okay. Faith is a process too. We're going to talk about faith here in a minute. But before I do, the book of the week this week is The Year Orange Juice Saved My Life. It's on Kindle and on Amazon, and it's or you can download the ebook and either print it out or just read it on your phone or tablet, whatever device you use, it'll read. It's an ebook. It's the story of when I had this mystery illness, and they never really discovered what that mystery illness was back in 86, 87. And yeah, I'm that old. And just how God brought me through that and how I learned to trust in Him. And it gives all the details of that, all the nitty gritty details. So get that story and read it and be encouraged and learn. You know, in it, I talk a little bit about how I found a scripture and learned how to just stand on one scripture, Psalm 57:1. Got me through that time because that's all I could do was hold on to that one scripture. I will trust in you until these calamities are past. So grab that story and share it with someone too. So this morning, I titled the devotion "Funny Sentences" or funny sentence. That's a funny sentence because I was reading, and actually, when I get done with the devotions this morning, I'm going to be doing a service in Pakistan. So I got to go change my clothes, get my church clothes on here in a minute. I'm going to evening service in Pakistan in my morning, right? It's pretty cool. And so I was studying for it, and I was reading through several different passages and going back over some of the scriptures this morning. And I found myself, I was actually, I think, in Hebrews 12, but I happened to look over into Hebrews 11 on my handy-dandy Bible here, my actual real Bible, not my electronic one. And I noticed in chapter 11, and this is just the last part of chapter 11, right? But I saw it said, by faith they passed through the Red Sea on dry ground, whereas the Egyptians attempting to do so were drowned. Great victory God brought His children, right? By faith the walls of Jericho fell down after they were encircled for 7 days. By faith the harlot Rahab did not perish with those who did not believe when she had received the spies with peace. But I looked at that and I thought, isn't that funny that it could say, by faith the harlot. By faith, the harlot. It didn't say by faith, the former harlot. It didn't say by faith, Rahab. Remember, she was a harlot. It just says by faith, the harlot. And I thought, isn't that the funniest phrase in the Bible? That somebody who lived what we would call very bad life, right? It's not a good thing to be a harlot, trust me. But she was listed in the Hall of Faith. By faith, she trusted God, and she hid the spies, and she told the spies, we know y'all are going to win, and I want to be on your side. I believe your God is going to give you the victory, and I want to serve your God. And so by faith, she believed in God, even though she was imperfect. But I went on reading down through here because right after it says, what more shall I say? And I'm in verse 32 of Hebrews 11. For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon. Gideon wasn't perfect. Gideon did great. Now, he put the fleeces out. He had a hard time believing that God was really choosing him. And I'll give him some credit there. But in the end, he actually made a God that caused them to stumble out of their armor and stuff. He's in my leadership book as the one who failed because he didn't do everything right. But he's still right here. By faith, Gideon did the things he did. The good things, right? The things he followed God in. Then it says, by faith, Gideon. Barak was not perfect. He was okay. He ended up okay, but he wasn't perfect. And Samson's listed next. And I'm like, Samson messed up royally. We talked about Samson and Jonah here a few weeks ago, the people who just really messed up their stories, and yet there was still that thread of grace. And they still are listed here in the Hall of Faith. We got Samson who totally didn't do what God told him to do. But God still fulfilled what He promised He would do through Samson, even though Samson was not perfect. And here he is in the Hall of Faith as one who trusted God. And here's what I got out of this. Look, if y'all know me at all, you know I'm not perfect. Those who don't know me, just keep telling yourself that I'm just this great, glorious person that never makes a mistake, and I'll disappoint you as soon as I possibly can, right? Because we know we aren't perfect. But we are forgiven. And God's forgiveness is so strong that He forgave all of the sins of the world, according to 1 John. all at one time. It's a matter of us coming around to that place of faith where we accept that forgiveness, but we're already forgiven. We just have to accept that. But we're imperfect. We don't do things right. But right here we have, by faith, the harlot trusted God. It was through faith. And if she can be mentioned in the Bible, and we can look back at the story and realize that she trusted God even though she wasn't living a perfect life, that encourages me that I can trust God even though my life I can be a mess sometimes. I'm not a harlot though. That's a good thing, right? But even though I can be a mess sometimes, even though I do things wrong sometimes, I can still stand in faith. I can still, as a matter of fact, it says that she received the spies with peace because they were trying to kill the spies. They wanted to find the spies and kill them. And she actually met them with peace and brought them in her house and provided that kind of a shelter of peace, you want to call it that way, so that they could live and then they could go back to the Israelites and then come and take the city, right? And so, but when the city fell, when they did come and take it, the walls all fell except for Rahab's part of the wall and her family. They went in and got her family and they were saved. Her faith saved her whole family even, right? That's some strong faith. And she went against the grain. She went against tradition. She went against the city. She went against the city elders. But she didn't tell anybody except her family. She got her family in the house. She put the scarlet thread out the window so they knew where she would be. And the walls fell except for hers because she was marked by that faith, even though she was imperfect. God can still see our faith even if we're imperfect. That gives me so much encouragement today because I know what a mess I could be. I know how I am. I seem like I got mess up almost anything, right? And without even trying. But God doesn't look at me as a imperfect person. He looks at me as a forgiven person, as a person who is trusting Him. Even if we're just believing Him for peace today. It's kind of a basic thing. We talk about it a lot here, though, don't we? Just having that faith to peace out, to trust God, to say, you know what, God, I'm going to give you this day. God goes, I can work with that. I can work with that. And sometimes we have to say, okay, God, I'm going to give you this moment. And He goes, oh, it's okay. I can work with that. God can work with whatever faith we bring before Him, whether we think it's big or we think it's small. Faith is faith. And if the imperfect harlot Rahab can be recognized in the hall of faith for her faith, we can be recognized for our faith. God sees our faith. He even sees the struggle when it's hard for us to trust Him. If we're saying, okay, God, I'm trying to trust you, but I'm having a hard time here. He can work with that. He can work with wherever we are on our faith scale, whether we think we have a whole lot of faith or we feel like we have no faith. He's like, just trust me. I got you. And when we do that, we have faith and we can peace out. Peace out. You guys have a great day. I hope I said something that made sense, and I'll see you again tomorrow.